Okay, so good afternoon, class. So we'll be starting with the third part of the prose that we have started, that is the fair play. So you have this situation that is in front of you. You'll be thinking upon it. So you'll be thinking that Rohan and Sohan are competitors. They both try to outpace each other in the class. They hate each other. One day during sports period, Sohan saw that few seniors were bullying Rohan, and Rohan was trying to save himself by punching them back. And suddenly the teacher arrived and asked what happened. The teacher cross examined the situation with Sohan as he was there when the fight started. So think of yourself as Sohan, and tell me what steps will you take and why. Will you put the blame on Rohan or you will tell the truth? So this is the situation where we'll be testing that you will be playing fair in this situation, or you will be letting your emotions work upon you and choosing something that you should not be choosing, or anything that you want to write. You will be writing that in the chat box and explaining why you want to opt this certain answer for this situation. Yes, I'll be giving you 2 minutes to think upon this situation and give your responses in the chat box. I'll be waiting for your responses. I hope you are thinking upon this situation and you are writing your responses in the chat box. When you what you think you will be doing when you are, if you are in the situation of in the place of Sohan, if you are in this situation, what you will be doing. Either you will be exposing or you will be blaming Rohan for what he did not do, or you will be misinterpreting the situation in front of the teacher, or you will be telling the truth that what was happening behind the eyes of the teacher, that it was not the fault of Rohan exactly, that he is not at fault for punching them back because they were punching him also, or whatever the situation you feel. Yes, so we'll be discussing upon more upon this. We'll be moving forward from here first. So basically, Sohan should tell the right thing, which has exactly happened, ideally. But I'll be checking your responses later on and be thinking upon but why you have chosen such response, whichever response you must have chosen. Now you will analyze that you will be naming an honest person whom you know, and what are the different qualities of an honest person. Yes, I'll be waiting for your responses in the chat box. Yes, any honest person you know, and you don't have to name them exactly. You can just tell them how this is the person. He's like this, related to me like this way, in this way, and but different qualities you think they have that belong to an honest person. Yes, you have enough time to respond to these two statements. I'll be moving forward now with this. Yes. So now a student has an exam online. There is no camera surveillance for the test. He was not prepared for the test. Should the student cheat in that test as there is no camera? What do you think? Student should cheat as there is no camera, or he should just stick to his morals and do not cheat in the class even when the teacher is not present there. Yes, what do you think he should do, he or she should do, the student, without any camera surveillance, if he or she is not prepared for the test? Should the student cheat in that test, or he should just give the exam according to the knowledge that he must be having at that time? Yes, you can give your response in the chat box. Read the statement carefully. Yes, so we'll be moving forward from here. I'll be checking your responses later on. Yes, so we have this passage in front of us. Let me adjust it a bit so that it will be more clear to everyone. Yes. So the panchayat was held under the old banyan tree. As we have already discussed that now Algu was in a tight spot where he has given his bullock to Sahu, but now the bullock has died in less than a month or in a month. So the Sahu is now not giving him any money, not giving Algu any money of that bullock because he had died. So he's saying that the bullock has now died, so he did not need to give Algu any money. So we'll be reading what happens next. The panchayat was held under the old banyan tree. Algu stood up and said, "The voice of the punch is the voice of God. Let Sahu nominate the head punch. I will abide by his decision." Sahu saw his chance and proposed the name of Juman. Algu's heart sank and he turned pale, but what could he do? The moment Juman became head punch, he realized his responsibility as judge and the dignity of his office. Could he, seated in that high place, have his revenge now? He thought and thought, so we can say no, he must not. So the passage is saying that the panchayat was held under the same old banyan tree, which it was held in the case of when Juman and his aunt were there regarding their agreement that was there for the property, right? So Algu also stood up and said in the same way that voice of the punch is the voice of God. So whatever the punch will say, they will be abiding by that. And Algu said that let Sahu nominate the head punch. And Sahu took that opportunity and he knew that Juman and Algu were having revengeful feeling toward each other. Basically, Juman was having revengeful feeling toward Algu as he did not give the verdict in his favor earlier. So Sahu saw his chance and he proposed the name of Juman, which made the Algu's heart sank and he turned pale because of that, because he thought that now Juman will take his revenge and he will not intentionally give his verdict in the favor of Algu. But what could he do? But what could Juman do? Now he is also feeling the responsibility of a punch, of a leader, of a judge. That what you need to be impartial when you are in a high position. You need to be unbiased at that time. So he realized the responsibility as judge and the dignity of his office. Could he seated in that high place? When he is seated in that high place, he is not able to get his revenge now. He must not get his revenge now. He thought and thought. He kept on thinking upon that. Should he get his revenge at that point or not? But he must not. So we'll be looking after it. Yes. So if you were at the place of Juman, what decision would you make? I'll be giving you a few seconds to think upon this and you will be punching or you will be writing your responses in the chat box that if you were Juman, what decision would you have made and why? What could be the reason behind the decision that you would have made? Would it be you would be taking the revenge? Less like Algu did not give the verdict in favor of Juman. Juman should also don't do the not give the verdict in favor of Algu, even without looking at the situation in an impartial way before. What do you think Juman should do? Yes, you have 10 seconds to respond to that statement. And we'll be checking what he actually did, how he judged the situation, and what decision he made after listening to both the parties. Yes, so we'll be moving forward. Now you will be testing your understanding. So Sahu chose whom as the punch? Yes, you will be writing your responses in the chat box. That Sahu chose whom as punch? We have just discussed this. You will be giving your responses in the chat box. Yes. And the second question is meaning of dignity. Yes. So when we are telling that he is a very dignified person. So what do you think it should mean? Meaning of dignity. You will write your responses in the chat box. I'll be discussing upon them later on with you. Yes, now we'll see what happens next. Yes, so I'll be reading next. So both Algu and Sahu stated their cases. They were cross-examined and the case was considered deeply. Then Juman stood up and announced, "It is our opinion that Sahu should pay Algu the price of the bullock. When Sahu bought the bullock, it suffered from no disability or disease. The death of the bullock was unfortunate, but Algu cannot be blamed for it." Algu could not contain his feelings. He stood up and said loudly over and over again, "Victory to the Panchayat. This is justice. God lives in the voice of the Panch." Soon after, Jumman came to Algu, embraced him and said, "Since the last Panchayat, I had become your enemy. Today I realized what it meant to be a Panch. A Panch has no friend nor enemy." I'll just move myself towards this side so you will be able to look at it carefully. So a Panch has no friend nor enemy. He knows only justice. Let no one deviate from the path of justice and truth for friendship or enmity. Algu embraced his friend and wept, and his tears washed away all the dirt of misunderstanding between them. So here, both Algu and Shah Sahu, they both stated their cases. They both gave their statements towards the case, that what they had to say about it. They were cross-examined by the people of the main officials of the village and also the Panch, and they were the things were considered carefully and deeply. Then Juman stood up and announced, when the decision was made by the Juman, and he has announced the decision that it is their opinion that Sahu should pay the Algu the price of the bullock, because when the Sahu bought the bullock from Algu, he has no disability at the time or any kind of disease. So it is not Algu's fault that now the bullock has died because of some issues. So it is not in the hands of Algu, that he has no control over it. So Algu should not be blamed for it, and he should be paid the right amount of money which belongs to him. And upon hearing this thing from the mouth of Jumman, his decision that was made in favor of Algu, Algu could not contain his happiness. He was so happy that he stood up and said loudly over and over again, he repeatedly said this, that victory to Panchayat, victory to the Panchayat. This is justice. Now this is justice. He's happy that his friend did not overlook the truth just for his revenge. So this is justice. God lives in the voice of the Panch. So they both did great as Panch. They both were impartial and they were both unbiased toward each other. Even when they were in difficult situation, they chose the truth and not to be biased towards their friend, to do the wrong decision, to make the wrong decision, just to be biased with their friends. So soon after, Juman came to Algu. Juman also came to Algu and embraced him and said, because Juman also realized his mistake, because he was having revengeful feeling toward Algu because he had not given the verdict in his favor earlier. So since the last Panchayat, I had become your enemy. So he is saying that I had revengeful feelings towards you. I have become your enemy since the last Panchayat, because you did not give favor in my verdict in my favor. Today he realized that what it means to be a Panch. So now he has realized that what it means to be Panch, because you have the responsibility when you are officially and head. So you have the responsibility on your shoulders to give a verdict that is impartial and unbiased toward anyone. So you will be able to be practical upon that. And a Panch has no friend nor enemy. So a Panch needs to be unbiased. He has no friend nor enemy. He knows only justice. So let no one deviate from the path of justice. So he's saying that we should not be deviated from this path. We should not change the direction of this path. The path of justice should be this only, that one should not be unbiased. one should not be biased toward his or her friend or enemy when it comes to justice and truth for friendship or enmity. Algu embraced his friend and wept, and his tears washed away all the dirt of misunderstanding between them. So Algu also hugged his friend and he also cried, and his tears washed away all the misunderstandings that were there between them from the last panchayat. So this was the whole thing that we have just discussed. So you can find the difficult words. You can just write the difficult words in the chat box. I'll be discussing upon them. I'll be telling you their meanings or letting you give the situation where you will be able to explore the meaning of that word. So here the word that I think that you will be able to you must be finding difficult is enmity. Basically, that is when we have ill feelings towards someone, when someone is not our friend, unfriendly feelings, that is what enmity is, the opposite of friendship. Basically, when someone is friend, you have positive feelings toward them. When someone is not your friend, if someone is your enemy, then you have ill feelings for them basically sometimes. So that is what enmity is. Embraced is when you embrace someone, when you hug someone, when you call for someone to come towards themselves, right, come towards you. That is what embrace means, when you welcome someone with open arms. Rest of the words you will be telling me in the chat box, and I'll be answering for your queries, any word you find difficult. So we'll be moving forward. Now, what do you think, what according to you is the moral of the story? Yes, I'll give you a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes to think upon it, that what according to you should be the moral of the story, this story, that is fair play. Yes, you have few more seconds to think upon it, that what according to you should be the moral of the story. In this story, we have seen that how in the first situation, Junman and his aunt were having a quarrel, or we can say a disagreement over certain things, over the property, and how aunt was expecting Juman to take care of her, but Juman was not ready to do that at that time, at that point of time, with this, where he was having certain feelings with his wife as well, which were not coordinating with his relationship with his aunt. So that time Algu gave the verdict against Juman, and he said that he needs to give the property back to his aunt if he is not ready to take care of his aunt, right? If not take care of Juman's aunt, Juman is not able to take care of his aunt. And in when Algu was in the similar situation, Algu was in a tight spot where he was not getting paid for the bullock he has given to the Sahu. So now Juman also, now then at that time Juman became the punch, and he decided to be responsible and be to give the verdict in unbiasedly, or we can say upon thinking carefully or wisely. He made the wise decision at that time. He was not being biased toward his friend or his enemy at that time. He made a clear decision that Algu should be paid for the bullock, because he was not suffering from any disease when he was given to Sahu. So Sahu had to pay the money to the Algu. So what do you think should be the moral of the story according to you? Yes, I have given you enough time to think upon that now. So moral of the story, I must be saying that this tells that we should not be in front of justice. When we talk about justice, justice should not be based on friendship or enmity, the feeling of friends being friends with someone or being enemy with someone. It should not come before justice, it is after justice. So first we need to be impartial or unbiased when it comes to justice. So we need to think of regarding any situation wisely, and it should not like influence us if that situation is involving our friend or anyone who is our enemy, who we are not sharing the good feelings with. So we should always judge any situation wisely, practically, and not letting our thoughts being influenced by any of the other feelings. So that is the moral of the story, that the that is fair play basically. As the name also suggests, it should be always a fair play, whether it is involving your friend or your enemy. Yes, now you will be testing your understanding. You will be arranging these four statements in for events into the correct order. The first is Algu Bulla Algu. bullocks died. Algu became the punch. Jumman and Aunt had agreement. Aunt asked for alliance. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can just write the correct sequence in the chat box when you look at it. I'll be giving you 1 minute to do that. Yes, so if you talk about the correct sequence, so Aunt asked for alliance first, for to which sorry. So the first event should be, I misread it. So the first event should be Jumman and Aunt had agreement, that is that Aunt will be transferring her property to Jumman, and Jumman will be taking care of her when the aunt becomes old. When the aunt gets old, the Jumman and his wife will be taking care of her. But later that it was not the situation which they have imagined, and our aunt started to ask for allowance from Jumman, that she would want to set a separate kitchen for her, as they were not happy with the aunt living in with the Jumman and his wife. So she wanted to set a separate kitchen for herself. That is why she was asking for allowance from Jumman, which he clearly declined to do that. And after that, Algu became the punch, as he was nominated by aunt. So she was expecting from Algu that he will be giving a wise decision toward this whole situation. And after that, the last event was when Algu's bullocks died, and he was also in a tight spot later on, to which Juman was made the punch, and he also gave the wise decision when his turn came. Regardless of their position as friends or enemies. So that was the whole story it was about. So we'll be doing a quick recap after this. Now you will be giving your responses in the chat box towards these questions, that what is honesty? You will be giving your responses. What according to you is the term that is explaining honesty? How will you explain honesty in your own words? Does this story depicts any kind of honesty to you? Second question that is there is, what was the final decision? So in this today's lesson, what was the final decision made by Jumman at the end? You will be telling that in the chat box. And then the third question is, create sentence using word abide and opinion. These are the two words from which you will be having to create sentences from, that is abide and opinion. Then the fourth question that we are having is, you will be complete the line honesty is. I'll be making one. Honesty is the best policy because it is the easiest one. So you'll have to think upon it, and you'll be making some others, right? Otherwise, everybody would have made this, that honesty is the best policy. So you'll be making something different. Some different lines should be there. Some different sentences would be there. So you'll be completing this line, that honesty is dash. According to you, what do you think honesty is? Yes, so today we are done with this prose that we have started. That was Fair Play, that was written by Prem Chand, basically, right? So we'll be meeting again in our next class, where we'll be starting with something new. Till then, thank you, students. Thank you for staying with me here in the class. You can write your queries, any kind of queries if you are having, you can write them in the chat box. I'll be discussing upon them with you later on, or I can make a separate video for you. If there are too many, I can make a separate video for you as well. So you can write your queries in the chat box as well. Comment section is there for the queries. Okay, so session is going to end in 20 seconds. By that time, Okay, thank you, students. We'll be meeting again in our next class. Thank you so much for your participation and for bearing with everything.